Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Team Network's 16th. I've just been told LinkedIn Live over the last couple of months. Really delighted to have a guest speaker with us today, Sanjay Vyas, who is a video guru. Sanjay, good afternoon, mate. How you doing?
Hello, Andy. Thank you very much for having me. I'm doing great. Really happy to be here and looking forward to our discussion today.
Second LinkedIn Live in a week for you and I. So we did Let's Talk Bro last Monday, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yeah, we did. We did.
Slightly different topic today, but we've come up with the idea of this LinkedIn Live because I speak to hundreds and hundreds of recruitment founders every year, traveling the country at our team networking events, and one of the top topics of conversation is video engagement and creating videos for personal and business branding. And it's one of those topics that most people really want to get involved in. They want to get stuck in, but they never seem to get around to doing it. So, Sanjay, what's your background in video? What's your journey of getting to where you are now? And what do you do for the recruitment industry with video?
Yeah, so I'm a videographer by trade, if you want to call it that. That's kind of how I would describe myself. So I capture high quality video content. I do podcast production, so video podcast production and editing. Specifically for the recruitment industry, we are doing made for you video for recruiters. So where we will create and record and create and edit. Basically, take all the heavy lifting away for recruiters to do. Exactly as you said, a lot of them want to do it, but it's just another thing on the to-do list, right, that they have to do. So, what we found is that I started off coaching people, and they were like, yeah, it's good knowing how to do it, but can you just do it for me? So effectively, that's what I'm doing now. My background should have started way before it actually did, because we're going to talk about this today. I procrastinated, right? I should have started video. So my entry into this was podcasting. And as most people know, podcasts started and still are majority audio only formats. So I started a podcast, 2017, 2018. And then I kind of switched to video podcasting. And that's how I got into the video. I realized that I actually enjoyed the creation of the assets and the producing the show more than I actually did doing the podcast itself. And that's kind of what led me onto a bit of a sidetrack. And here I am today doing video content for online and in person.
Yeah, and video content for Mark Whitby you work with as well, don't you? For
Yeah,
the
so the
Resilient
recruitment
Recruiter
coach,
podcast.
yeah, Mark Whitby, Resident Recruiter. If anyone knows that podcast, go check it out. I do all of the production for the Resident Recruiter. That includes the editing, the input. We do a lot of in-person episodes as well, so I do that. And of course, we have 2 live events that we do in person as well. So we have what we call the Live Summit. We record all of that video, so I head up all of the production for those live events as well. So I've got into the live event space since working with Mark, which has been fascinating, and again something that I thrive on.
Good fun, isn't it? Really good fun.
It's awesome. Live events.
I
You know this. You guys put on more live events than anyone, so you guys know what the benefits of it were. But for me, it's also, we talked about this on our last live, being a remote, working remotely and not having in-person contact. Those events are the time where I get to be around people, even though it's the most stressful time of the year for me, but in a good way. Like that's, it's game time, right? It's like a footballer. Match day is when you thrive. That's what you're waiting for. And for me, those live events and the live in-person podcast days are what I'm kind of training all year round for. And I love it. So it's good fun.
It looks like we got a few technical difficulties I've just seen pop up on the chat. I'm just going to send a quick message over to Jahisha just to make sure that everyone can see us. I think a few people have said they can't see us as at the moment. Let's have a quick look here. Show comments off stage. Bear with me 1 second, Sanjay.
No worries.
We love tech, right?
This is exactly it.
Okay. Well, what we need to be doing is recording this on our phones. And then we could have just uploaded it and not use StreamYard.
Well, I am actually recording in my camera right now, so that's just my habit of having a backup.
Oh, here we go. We are back. Jahisha said it.
Back. So okay.
So Jahisha, can you just tell us, did anybody see any of our intros so far? Let's have a quick look. Let's do another quick, just a very quick 30 second. Sanjay, So we set up as LinkedIn Live because recruiters really, really want to record more video. It's one of the big topics of discussion I've had across all of our hundreds of networking meetings in the last couple of years. So Sanjay, give us a quick 30-second intro to your background and why is it recruiters should be considering video in today's market?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. So I got into video through podcasting. I started a podcast 8 years ago, and that's mostly audio only. I switched the camera on, got into video podcasting, and I actually enjoyed the video creation more than I did actually being a podcaster. I still am a podcaster, and now I create video content both in person and remotely. So I do podcast production, live events, specifically within the recruitment agency. You mentioned Mark Whitby there earlier, to the Recruitment Coach or the Resilient Recruiter podcast. Many people may have heard that. I do all the production editing for that. And what I found along that journey is that, as you said, more and more recruiters want to do video content. However, a lot of them are not doing it for various reasons we're going to get into today. And so I've also do some done for you, made for you service where I take some of the heavy lifting away from them. But it's interesting you say about why should recruiters be making video content. I think, we live in a video first world now, right? If you look at all the social media platforms, they've all now gone after video, right? If you think about Instagram, when it first started, was it's a photo sharing app. That's how it was described, right? A photo sharing app. You go on Instagram now, photos make up a minority compared to the amount of video. They've got the Reels tab. Of course, YouTube was a dedicated video app, and it's now it's the biggest platform on the world. And talking about podcasts, it's actually the #1 podcast platform in the world as well. So that shows that more and more people are watching podcasts. LinkedIn is a very, very good case study for that. They've just recently introduced vertical video. I say recently, probably within the last 18 months or so, right? They've copied that that feed that TikTok first started with, the scrolling vertical feed. You look at any of the announcements from any of the LinkedIn management. There was one recently actually from their marketing head or someone within their marketing department saying how video is becoming more and more prominent. And of course, recruiters will know this. We're living in this AI age where content creation, written content creation, a lot of it is AI generated, right? And yes, you can do AI generated video, but I still feel it's a long way away from, being
It's
perfect.
really sketchy. It's really sketchy, isn't it?
It's quite, even though it's got better, it's still quite sketchy. It's still quite sketchy. So, but video gives you presence, right? It puts you front and center. It puts your face out there. It puts your voice out there. And I think that in order to build trust in this environment where it's so noisy out there, when it comes to content, when it comes to LinkedIn, when it comes to any kind of marketing or even business development, having video as part of your toolkit, it's not the only thing you should do, but it should be part of your toolkit and your armory, is going to set you aside from from many, many others.
Yeah, and I think starting with quite a big statement from me, video changed the way that I work completely. When I started off in video 5 years ago now, started using recording video on my iPhone. I bought the iPhone X when it came out, originally because it had the best camera. And then I started using Odro captures. And I said to you before we went live today, of all the videos that I've sent, which is thousands over the last 5 years, 86% of the videos that I record for people one-to-one get watched. And literally in the last week alone, I've had 45,000 impressions on LinkedIn, 36,000 actual individual people. And video is half of my content that I create. And it's all done on my phone or via the camera on my laptop. It's so impactful for the ICP of, recruitment founders and recruiters on LinkedIn. It's so crucial for me.
Yeah, I think you're a good example of that, of someone that has embraced video and the key thing, goes with anything, right? I feel like I repeat this statement. I'm going to get a t-shirt or a cap made with the statement on it, right? Consistency compounds, right? And we all know this, but we don't always practice it. And you've been really consistent with posting video. And I'm sure, you will have more data than others that some videos do well and others won't. And that's okay, just like any other posts. So it's great to see that you are, you're living and breathing that journey, and, you've got the data to support it.
So let's kick off then. Start with the big picture. Why do you think business leaders hesitate to show up especially on LinkedIn?
So my answer to this question has changed recently, because at first I thought it was the tech, right? I thought it was tech overwhelm, right? Like I said, it's just another thing to do. It's too complicated. I don't have the right tech. And actually, what I've learned through when I've started coaching and working with people is it's not the tech. And this is kind of what got us to talk about this, to do this LinkedIn Live, and you asked me, was it's actually something that I call camera confidence, believe it or not. And this really surprised me, because working with recruiters who are, I don't want to generalize, but I'm going to generalize, generally outgoing individuals, right? You're generally someone that, you are doing cold calls, you are pitching, you are talking to CEOs, you are doing presentations, you are public speaking. You wouldn't think those are the people that would get shy in front of a camera. But what I found is you get those people in a room and you put a camera on them, they see that little red light and they freeze, right? So camera confidence, for me, in my experience, has been one of the biggest obstacles that stopped people putting out content. And then that kind of leads into, which something that not all of us, but many of us do feel, is that imposter syndrome. Why would I want to put out video? Who's going to listen to me? Why would anyone going to listen to me? So-and-so's making videos that are, Stephen Bartlett's making videos that are better than mine. Why would anyone want to watch mine, right? So for me, I think that's been a huge, huge limiting factor. I don't know what your experiences with that is with that, Andy. How have you felt, and what's been your journey with regards to those things?
It's trial and error. As I say, I scrolled back through all of my old videos going back 5 years on LinkedIn, which anyone can do, by the way. You go to your profile page, go to your posts, click on videos, and then you can see the originals. And my first videos got nothing, like no likes, no comments at all. But I knew, like, consistently, it was Ryan McCabe from Odro that got me onto a 21-day LinkedIn posting schedule, and video was a part of that, because obviously with Odro, using Odro as well. And it's just being consistent with me. I knew some of my original videos were terrible, but I just wanted to get them out there. But there's so many different ways to use video. It's not just like talking to camera about, business or work. It could be, tips, advice, things that you've learned, and if you just capture one person that's in that right sweet spot for what you're talking about, it's worth doing them. That's my take on it.
I think it's the same for any content, though, isn't it? You're absolutely right. It's about that one person. If you can impact one person or influence one person with the content that you're putting out there, then it's absolutely worth it. And I would say that's the same for a written post or a poll or any of those other types of posts, a picture. But yeah, video has this. It has a different layer to engaging with someone, right? It's we talk about building trust. Recruiters will know this, that you really are only going to build trust with your clients when you're meeting them face to face. Yes, you can have a phone relationship with someone, but at some point you want to meet that person face to face. That's why so many recruiters probably track in-person meetings, right, as part of their KPIs for their staff, right? How many meetings are you having? How often you're getting out in front of clients. This is why you do all your in-person events, because building trust, building connection happens in person. And yes, okay, video's not, you're not really there with them. And when the metaverse evolves, I'm sure we will have this virtual way which we feel like we're in person. But right now, the second best thing to actually being in person is video. So you can really build trust and showcase who you are as a person, as an individual. And you mentioned the different types of posts there, which we can get into, because I think that's a really important point. By putting out different types of content through this medium of video, you can really build trust, and you could really show your audience, your target clients, your target candidates, even, that you are an authority in your space.
So what sort of example should we dive into then, Sanjay? What type of video should we? What would you advise people to look at?
This is often a question I get this question a lot. So I don't know what to post. I don't know what to talk about. And I always just turn around and say, well, what do you talk to your clients and candidates about, right? If a candidate's, let's take the candidate side of things. If a candidate's going for an interview, what would you be telling them, right? Hopefully you're going to be prepping them for the interview. What sort of information would you be giving them? How would you be instilling confidence in them? What would you be telling them to ask or don't ask? Or so those are the things that you naturally do every day. That's your kind of low hanging fruit. And just want to take a step beyond that, actually, because one of the biggest mistakes I see any entrepreneur or business owner or anyone who's got a service or something that they're trying to sell when they're making video is they often go straight to the sell, right? They often go straight to the advert, right? And they go into selling mode. I have a product, I have a service, come and buy from me. Now that's a huge mistake. And the reason that's a mistake is because you're often talking to an audience that you may not have built yet, or the algorithm will push your content out to people that are not following you. And if they don't know you, then they're not going to buy from you. It's the same old, you do a cold call. Very rarely, and there may be people in the chat who can disagree with this, and that's absolutely fine. But very rarely you're going to get a sale on that very first call, right?
Yeah.
It's the first call is where you're going to kind of hopefully start the building of a relationship. So I often say that it's rather than trying to sell your services, try to think of these two other content pillars. And the first one, which is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, is educate people with your knowledge and your expertise, but without the expectation of anything in return. Right? This is really important. You are putting content out there purely to teach, to educate, to share knowledge, and you're not looking for anything in return. So there shouldn't be a call to action on the end of it to say, hey, if you selling something, right? It should just be, this is what I think, this is what I tell my clients or tell my candidates, and you educate. So that's the first type of content. So educational pieces. And then the second type of content I think that's really important, which people are missing, is storytelling, right? And I call this storytelling or emotional connection. And this is really important because, it's not fancy logos or graphics or even pricing that sells. It's emotion. It's connecting to an emotion. It's understanding or someone else understanding, hey, I've had that problem. I want to have that problem fixed as well. So these storytelling pieces could be pieces about yourself, right? Your own personality, right? Your own story, your journey, where you got to now. This is why podcasts are so great, by the way, because you can tell your story that way, but you can still do that in video content online. You could be telling a story without, of course, giving away any client or candidate confidential information about a situation that happened and tell the story about that. It might have been a job offer negotiation. It might have been a pitch that you pitched for and how you kind of won this big client. Those stories relate, but also don't forget that the biggest stories that are going to relate are talking about some of the obstacles that you've overcome, right?
Yeah.
It's easier to go online right now, and I do feel like a lot of the social media platforms are guilty of this. As you see this perfect life, right? Everyone's doing great, everyone's making loads of money, everyone's going on amazing holidays, everyone's doing fancy, wonderful things, but we all know that there's a lot that doesn't get shown online. So be vulnerable, right? You don't have to share anything you don't want to share, you're not comfortable sharing. But just switching it back to podcasts, some of the more popular podcast episodes that I've edited are ones where people are sharing, hey, I struggled with this. This is what happened to me, and I really this is how I struggled, and this is how I overcome it. Because there's going to be someone out there, more than one person, I guarantee you, who's going to think, gosh, that happened to me too. Yeah. Instantly, you've got a connection, right, with that person on an emotional level. And, big brands use this a lot, right? And, you and I are both fans of, Nike and their Jordan range of trainers, right? And their basketball shoes. It's not because it's Nike and because they spend the most money on their advertising and branding. Maybe that's what brought our attention to it. But when you put those new pair of Jordans on, Andy, they make you feel something, right? They make you feel good. Yes or no? Yes.
Correct. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. They make you feel good. And I think that's where they get you. It's that emotional connection. You feel something. So I think, so to summarize, I could go on forever. So educational pieces of content, no expectation of anything in return, share a story, emotional connection, and then yes, sell it. Say I've got a job, I'm looking for a COO, I'm looking for a CEO. Fine, that would be the third piece. But I think the majority of your content should consist of those first two pillars.
Yeah, I totally agree. Is there any like examples of anyone in particular that jumps out to you that's recorded video and it's been transformative to them?
I mean, there are some people I've worked with over in the US, recruiters in the US that have done really well. One person I can think of is a lady called Gail Audibert. She's already very successful. She's already been very, very successful. She's had, she's in I believe she's in her 60s, so she's been at this a long time and she has a very successful career. We started creating video content for her, posting just short form clips, and all she was doing was teaching people. Now, she works in the insurance industry. Now, insurance generally isn't very exciting, right? And she admits this as well. But she's just started posting stories about her experience in this industry, little bits of information and knowledge that people might not know, tips for, startups that are coming into the insurance industry. And she saw a significant kind of uptick in the people that were connecting with her. And interestingly, what she saw was she'd always got a lot of connection requests on LinkedIn. She's got 20,000 plus followers already on LinkedIn. But what she noticed was that the people that were connecting with her were not other recruiters, which is what she was seeing more often. There were other people in her industry that she did not know, right? So what that told us and told her was that when she was posting these videos, the algorithm in LinkedIn was pushing this content out to her ICP, right? Her ideal client, and people that weren't in her network. And off the back of one of those videos, actually, she did make a placement, and it was like, a $45,000 fee or something like that off the back of one video, which, she never expected. And that's not why she was posting the video, but this is what it can lead to. It can lead to these connections and these opportunities that you might not normally get.
Yeah, totally. There was a couple of questions coming in. Kalpesh Baxi said storytelling, exactly what Ben Fogel talked about at Rec Agency Expo. You must lead with the story. And
yes.
Mr. Bliss, team's chairman, has put a question in as well. Simon's asking, what length of video for storytelling is right for LinkedIn?
Yeah, that's a good question. So length of video is a tricky one. I always say experiment, right? The data will tell you that short form content on social media platforms, 30 to 45 seconds is optimal, right? Now, if you can get your story out in 45 seconds, great. That's going to work for you. But I've seen people post, content on LinkedIn that's 2 minutes long. And if it's engaging enough, then there's no reason to post that type of content. So the way I've seen people split this up is they try and put their educational content, keep it short and sweet, right? So a 30-second tip, interview tips or negotiation tips or whatever it might be, tips that keep that short. But when you're kind of going into a kind of more nuanced story, there's nothing. You can post content up to 2 minutes, and some people will watch it and some people won't. But again, look at your own data. And this again kind of. I know we're not here to talk about podcasts, but this is why podcasts are so great, because you could take, you could take a 1 minute snippet from a podcast, and if people are intrigued and they hear a bit of a story, then they will be intrigued to go and find the full length version of that conversation, and then you can steer your audience towards that. But yeah, in terms of length, keep it short for educational content, and just experiment with the storytelling content. But whichever one you do, the important thing is. And we know this with any kind of marketing, and I think that most people that are watching this are aware of this because they're posting good content on LinkedIn, is your hook, right? So your hook on your text post is going to be that first line that people, or 2 lines I think you can see on LinkedIn if you're scrolling the feed. Yeah. Your hook on your video is your first 5 seconds. Now, if your first 5 seconds of your video is, hey guys, it's Sanjay. You're dead. You're done. Right? Right? You've wasted your opportunity. Right? They're going to just scroll past. So make that first 5 seconds the hook that's going to hook the person in that you want to watch that video. So think about, who is this video for? Is this for a candidate? Okay, well, if I was a candidate, what do I want to hear? What's going to entice me to watch the rest of this video? If I'm a client, what am I going to want to hear? What's going to entice me? So just do spend some time on that hook, because you can easily fall into that trap.
I remember one of the ones I did was a screen record where my face was in the bottom corner, and it was, you've just secured an interview with a new company, and you found out your interviewer's name. This is what I would do. And I screen shared, and I went to my profile on LinkedIn. I'm like, go to all of the comments and activity and scroll through and look at everything that your hiring manager has been liking, posting, commenting on, get a feel for what that hiring manager is all about before the interview as like a top tip. Like that's one thing you could do with your market if it was particularly niche. But again, I suppose you'd lead with if you've got an interview, watch this, and then go into the spiel. So that would be the kind of hook. So the algorithm at the moment, the algorithm advantage, are there any other types of content that recruiters should be thinking about posting at the moment? What's performing quite well?
Yeah, so I think, it's important to note that we had a guy on the Resident Recruiter, Richard. I think his name was Richard. I can't remember the surname. I can dig it out for you. But he was a kind of an expert within the LinkedIn algorithm. And one thing he said was really interesting is that you don't want to go all in on any type of content, right? So I'm a big advocate of videos. What I do, don't just post video, right? Because that will also deter the algorithm. Mix it up. But this is the great thing about video, right? You could post a piece, an educational piece, which could be a video, but then take the transcript of that video and turn it into a text post, and then another day you can post the text post. So if you've got a kind of a theme running, right? Maybe you've got a theme for, I don't know, bonus seasons coming up, right? For many industries, right? You could be doing a series of posts which are all to do with bonus seasons, but you may only need one or two real original pieces of content that you kind of repurpose and tweak and turn into different types of posts. So post a video, then post a text post about it, then turn that into maybe a poll as well. I think polls are something that I do see recruiters using it a lot, but I think it's underused. I think it's a really good way to engage your audience. So don't just rely on one type of content.
You could use a poll to find out what kind of content you should be creating between now and Christmas. Ask your audience.
Ask your audience.
I think as well, like taking another great idea, and Jahish has been doing that, a lot of us, but taking video content that we're doing, as you say, take the transcript and then create carousels, like PDF carousels, which keep people sticky on your page. They're always good
carousels.
Ideas.
Anything that's going to grab the attention. But yeah, I like the idea of kind of mixing it up. Now, the LinkedIn algorithm, for a moment there, I don't know if this is true right now. It was favoring video content because they were trying to get more people creating video onto their platform, right? Because they had just gone after it. I mean, I don't know the exact stats, but it's less than 1% of people that actually post on LinkedIn, right? So now, out of all the users on LinkedIn, I think less than 10% are actually posting content. Now, out of that, less than 1% are posting video content. So if you are posting video content, you are in the absolute minority, and this is a great opportunity to get your content seen outside your network. And that's why video content is so good. I mean, it works with text posts and other types of posts as well, but you will get your content seen. Now, I've seen people with reporting back different saying, well, my text posts do better than some of my video posts, and that potentially could be true. Some of my picture posts do better than my video posts. That can also be true. But then I've also seen the flip side where some people's videos are getting more engagement. So again, I think it just depends on who you are, where you are, and how the algorithm sees you. But do mix it up. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move into mindset and myths of recording video, and I know you've got some really cool slides that you're going to share.
Yeah, so Jahish, if you can bring up the slides, I can go through some. I don't want this to be a death by PowerPoint. Thank you, that was very efficient. So we've kind of talked about this. So look, there's a lot of myths around this, and I said camera confidence seems to be the big one, and this is the one I was alluding to earlier, right? I'm just not very good on camera, right? And it doesn't matter. Right, this is the thing. It really doesn't matter. You were not good at anything when you first started doing it. You were I've got a toddler, right? He was terrible at walking when he first started walking, right? He was terrible at counting and all of it. We were all terrible when we first started doing anything. So if you don't start now or start somewhere, then it's never going to get better, right? So it's a skill, the being confident on camera, just like the first time you picked up the phone to make a cold call, just like the first time you started your job in recruitment. It's a skill, it's a practice, and by being consistent, going back to that phrase again, you will get better, right? You will get better, and it absolutely is a practice. So I think that's one of the biggest ones I see is like I'm just not good, right? I think I've got this. Yeah, so this leads into it. Right? I'm just not an extrovert, right? And that's maybe true. There are a lot of introverted recruiters out there, and they don't want to kind of be seen there. Why would someone want to talk to me? Again, it's not about being an extrovert. People think that if you're an extrovert and you're kind of singing and dancing in your videos, that they're the ones that are going to get the most engagement and the most views. Authenticity sells over any of that stuff, right? And if you're trying to build a relationship with someone, then be yourself, be authentic. Don't pretend to be someone else. And I think that's really, really important because, you know, when you're building relationships with clients, the best relationships that you have, I guarantee, are the ones where you naturally feel more comfortable in being yourself, and you can be yourself, right? So I think it doesn't matter if you're not an extrovert, you don't think you're good on camera, but be authentic, right? Because someone will relate to you. Someone out there, even if you are, you know, in a very, very niche industry and you are not the kind of person that likes to be on camera, you are not an extrovert, someone out there is going to see that and they will relate to you. And as we said, if we can impact that one person, then it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. Gear. this does still come up, believe it or not, right? I don't have the gear to make my videos look good. That's rubbish. It has never been easier to make good quality video. I mean, if I had the gear I have now, like, and I'm not even talking about professional gear, right? If I had this thing that I have now 10 years ago, 7 years ago when I first started, I wouldn't need anything else. This is all you need. And this literally is my setup that I use a lot. And I know you're a big fan of using your phone. You know, just use your phone. Your phone nowadays is it's for most of the people that are watching this, it's the best camera that you own. I bet you
that did look like an iPhone 17, at least a Pro. It might have been a Pro Max, right?
It is a 17 Pro, but you don't need a 17 Pro, right?
I got one as well.
Our good mate, yeah, there you go, Snap. Nitin, our good friend, you know, he's using 14 Pros for his podcast, which has got 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? And he's quite proud of that. And that just goes to show you don't need the latest and greatest tech. You know, a 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old iPhone is going to do just as good to help you to make that content. So I think don't get caught up on the gear. I think just use what you've got, use your laptop. But for most people, the best camera you're going to have is in your phone. And then just think about your audio. I think audio is often... people don't think about their audio. When you're delivering video content, especially if you're doing spoken word like we are now, the video is great, but if people can't hear you, if you're outside and the wind's going off and your microphone, you just hear this blowing noise of the wind or it's crackly, people are going to switch off. People will forgive poor video quality if they can hear what's going on. But if it's the other way around, if you've got poor audio, they're going to swipe away. So, again, I know you're a big fan that you use your AirPods. Yeah, if you've got an iPhone and you can sync them up, or any kind of Bluetooth headset which will work with it, look, it does the job, right? So use that. Use a wired set. If you want to go fancy, you can get one of these DJI type microphones which can just Bluetooth into your phone, and you can record that way. But just think about your audio. Use a headset. Use something, but just use what you've got, right? And it also lowers the barrier to entry, right? It also lowers the setting up. If I've got to work with a client, if I've got to set up for a podcast, so for me and my missus are doing a podcast upstairs, we've moved recently, so we used to have a dedicated space which had everything set up. It takes me an hour to get my 2 cameras, microphones, lighting, all of that stuff set up. So I'm not doing it as often as I should because there's a big barrier to entry there. So the other night we actually did a live stream recording, and I just used this. I literally just put this on a tripod. I grabbed her camera, which is a 16, so it's the previous generation. So we had 2 decent quality cameras, and job done. So it was nice and easy. So yeah, don't let the tech be an obstacle.
And are you going to talk? I haven't seen these slides before. So are you going to talk about editing and subtitles in this bit as well?
I can do. It's not something I've got on this slide because it's again, I'm trying to keep the barrier to entry low. So editing is a good point, and I think there's interesting data that people have been sharing. I don't have the exact stats, but often highly polished looking videos don't perform as well as just rough cuts, right? So just grabbing your phone, selfie mode, or turn, in fact, one thing I would say, if you're going to use your phone, don't use the selfie cam, right? Use the rear cameras, because the rear camera is going to be better quality. I appreciate with the selfie cam, you can frame yourself and you can see, but the other thing that happens with the selfie cam is, and we all do it, we all know we do it, is you end up looking at yourself. Right, rather than looking into the lens and actually talking to your audience who's watching the video. So I would say turn the camera on yourself and always use the rear cam. It's better quality anyway, so you're going to get a better image out of it. So always use the rear cam. With regards to editing, try not to record content that needs too much editing. And this kind of goes back to the length of time you're recording your videos. Keep it sweet. But just like with the phone call, just like with your cold calls, with your in-person meetings and your pitching, you normally only have one shot of doing that anyway. And if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. Or again, authenticity sells. It doesn't have to be perfect. I was the guy when I first started podcasting. I would cut out every and ah and kind of and like, and I would sit there and go through, and we don't talk like that, right? We don't talk in this perfected way. And a lot of these AI editing tools now, they have these filler word removal tools, and actually I've tried it with a lot of episodes. I say take out all the filler words, and you listen to the episode, it doesn't sound normal, it doesn't sound natural. No. I think try to keep the editing to the minimal. Top and tail. So what I mean by is right at the beginning, where you probably turn your camera on and you might be setting it up. You could do that on your phone. You can cut, the first bit out, the beginning, so it starts when you want it to start. Yeah, right. And then you can cut out the end where you're faffing about turning the camera off. Cut that bit out, but keep it really simple. As for captions are useful because, again, the data shows us that most people who are scrolling on these platforms have the sound off. And particularly with something like LinkedIn, if someone's at work or they're in a work environment, they probably are not watching video with the sound on. So it is important to have captions. Now, LinkedIn will auto caption your video, right? So that's something you could toggle as you're uploading. There's a little CC icon when you're on LinkedIn, and you can toggle on auto captions. I think it goes on by default. Actually, I have to go in and turn it off because I do caption my videos. But you can use external captioning tools. I actually don't. I used to use Captions, the app. What do you use for yours? I've seen you put.
I've been using Captions with the AI edit recently to add AI generated music and like pop-up imagery, and they've been going down really, really well. In fact, there was a post went out yesterday, Joe Major has done it. So I've been trying to capture like testimonials of members at events that I go to. Instagram is the one that I use the most. So Instagram, that's why I try and keep my videos under 90 seconds, because that's the maximum time for a reel on one hit. But they've got rid of my favorite captions was like the big text, the kind of big square text that you could have on the side of the screen. And they've got rid of that recently because they brought out a separate editing app called, I think it's called Edits or Clips.
Yeah, it's called Edits. Yeah, it's called Edits.
Yeah, and with that one, that one I really like. There's all these different little. It's a bit like AI note takers with me at the moment. I use several ones that they all do different things. Edits has a subtitle like captions, transcript thing. That goes at the top of the screen, so it's right near where your camera is. So it looks like you're looking at the camera, but you can put in whatever you want to say, so it reminds you. Because I often. With me, I forget to say stuff on videos. If I'm talking about an event, I'll forget about someone that's speaking or the date. I'll get the date wrong or something, So I tend to have something like that sometimes. But again, it's just like finding what's comfortable for you and for what type of video you're recording.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think I recommend Instagram Edits to people because it's just it's an interface that you're going to be familiar with. Melanie's asking what editing tool is easy to use. Instagram Edits is easy to use. You can even on Instagram Edits do things like you might have seen videos where people are they're doing cuts in their video to the beat of the music, right? So the beat hits and then something changes. You can even do that. I mean that used to take me hours to do, because I'd have to get the audio track, I'd have to find the beats and mark it manually, and then I'd have to find my clips and put the clips on and then cut the clip exactly. You know, that would take me hours. You can now do it within a click of a button. It will find the beats for you and do all of that. So you could do that kind of level of sophistication on there. The next best kind of easy one for editing, which is also free, by the way, is CapCut. A lot of people may have heard of CapCut. CapCut is another free editing tool. You can do it on your phone. You can actually do it on your laptop as well. That's, I guess, the benefit. If you prefer using a laptop rather than your phone, you could just import the footage into into CapCut. So these are free tools that are available and easy to use. Honestly, if you start going down the wormhole of editing, you are soon going to get fed up and you won't post, right? You just will not post, because it does get complicated, right? Yes, you could use things like iMovie if you're a Mac user, you'll have iMovie on your phone, on your iPad, on your Mac as well. It just starts getting a little bit gnarly then, and it just starts to become a time suck, right? So again, keep the editing minimal, use Instagram edits, use CapCut. Things like that are really, really
the beauty with Instagram as well is that if you can add music over a quiet down version of music. So I've had, you know, Rihanna and Kendrick Lamar and stuff over my videos. I've turned the volume of that down so you can just hear it in the background, but you can still hear me speaking. Then if you post it on Instagram and then you download the video from your page, the music comes with it as well, but it will have your Instagram handle embedded in the actual video. So I tend to post those. Again, I did one of those yesterday, I think, or the day before, on my LinkedIn, and it's just an easier way to edit, clean up, and have sound on it as well. You know, so you can't usually do that. Yeah,
that's interesting. I would say to people, if you're going to do that and you're going to use the music from Instagram, like from someone who's obviously quite famous, don't post it on YouTube. I don't know about LinkedIn at the moment, but with YouTube, you will get a copyright strike, because it's not music you've got from YouTube, and your video just will get banned. But I don't know if LinkedIn are looking.
It's been fine. It's been fine for me. I mean, Instagram allow you to download it with the music.
I'm surprised, because they never used to. Yeah, they never used to. Before the Edits app came out, before this level of sophistication was there, if you downloaded a video with music that you'd created, it would remove the video, the audio track, the music track, because of the copyright issue. So I don't know if there's been some change. I've not seen anything to know that, but I know for a fact that YouTube are very hot on that type of stuff. So I'm just reading this
question there for Melanie. And you shoot one video on Insta and load onto LinkedIn, can't you? Any tips? We should just go for it. Go for it. Just give it a go and have a play. Like we said, didn't we, at the start of this? I appreciate we're quickly running out of time, and we've got so much more we want to talk about. But have fun. Like this LinkedIn Live is about fun stuff. You know, there's nothing that should be there to terrify you. But I think this would hopefully just give people some ideas and some light bulb moments to think, I'm just going to give it a go, you know, and make sure you tag Sanjay and me when you do these as well, so we can see them. But have fun with it. Just go for it. Yeah. So what's next?
It feels awkward. I want to talk about this kind of why does filming? You know, people say, well, I can cold call, I can pitch to someone in person, I'm amazing as a public speaker, but when I turn the camera on myself, I just freeze, or I don't like, you know, the sound of my voice, or I don't like what's happening. And it's this feedback gap, right? When you're in person, you get visual feedback, you get visual cues from the person. I'm doing it now, right? I'm talking with my hands, and that's something I do a lot, right? You get nods, you get verbal communication, and you get all of this body language that you will see from people, and that gives you confidence. Now, when it's just you and you're just staring at the back of your phone, right, into one of these weird alien-looking eyes, right, you don't get any feedback. So we're often we start to doubt ourselves. We start to think, oh, am I doing this right? Did that sound silly? Oh, am I going to fumble my words? Right? That's the reason why we get that. That silence. Our brain interprets that silence as rejection. Right, and it's the same. It happens in person, right? If you were doing a presentation and you were standing in front of a group of people and you were giving a presentation, and everyone was just sat super still, you know, looking straight ahead, giving you no feedback visually or, you know, audibly at all, you start to feel nervous, right? You start to feel, am I boring people, right? Because that silence is interpreted as rejection. So don't worry about that. That's quite a normal thing that happens. It happens with the best of us. It happens with everyone. So don't worry about that kind of silence. Again, it's a skill. It's practice. The more you do it, the more you'll get used to it. And this is why keeping your videos short and sweet is really, really important.
I think just to add on that as well, Sanjay, like you will get to a point where you won't care about that. Like you won't even think today when I was recording that video this morning about this session, there was a guy unloading scaffolding from a van standing 10 feet away from me. Like a couple of years ago, I'd be too embarrassed to record a video with someone seeing me do it, but I don't care anymore. Like that's my point on it. And I think if you've got a message that you want to get out to your network and you want people to know, just do it. Like don't let it hold you back. Like what other people think.
And you kind of what you just said there alludes to Tristan's point here about he says authenticity. It makes sense. What do you advise on developing a personal brand from the experience of recruiters, dress code, backgrounds? This is an interesting point, right? This goes back to trying to have that perfection mindset. Perfection does not sell, right? Perfection doesn't sell. And there's an Amazon study on this. Right, and the Amazon study is they did a study on the most purchased products on Amazon. Products with 5-star reviews, full 5-star reviews, are purchased less than those with like 4.5 or 4.6 because perfection doesn't sell. Right, people think that's fake. So try not to be perfect in your content creation. Look, if you're going to ask me from a professional perspective, if you're doing corporate related videos, yes, don't have a messy background, right? Don't be doing it with your unmade bed and your underwear all over the place, right? That's probably not a good look, right? But just a clean background. A lot of people, you've got a nice background behind you there. Like, so you can some people like to use virtual backgrounds. Virtual backgrounds can work. Some, you might have difficulty with certain apps and recordings, but just use a clean background, right? I often see some of the best performing posts are when people are on their walk to the station in the morning and they just grab their phone and they just talk and there's stuff going on. They're outside, they're outdoors. You mentioned you were recording with a guy in the background unloading a van, right? Reality, it doesn't matter. What matters is what you are saying, and what matters even more is that you're turning up and you're posting that content. So I think don't get too hung up on stuff like backgrounds and all of that stuff. Yes, keep it clean, keep it neat, keep it tidy if you're indoors and you can control it. If you can't control your background, then again, authenticity is going to trump anything else that you can fake.
Or be like me, Tristan, and record your videos in front of a wall of Lego, particularly if you work in the engineering and defence sector.
There you go.
Like having my Lego in the background of my videos used to spark loads of conversation to people, and they'd remember me for it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly that. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying that here. I like a nice background. I'm a videographer. I do this for a job. I have to go into spaces and turn often boring offices into a podcast studio. So it's just something I like to do. I do a lot of video calls, so I try to make sure I don't personally like using virtual backgrounds. That's just a personal preference from me. So I do pay a bit of attention to my background, but it's not something I have to keep changing. So I kind of just set it once and it's done. So like I said, I think it's important just to turn up and start recording and not worry about it too much. If you are interested in tech and you want to kind of just a very simple kind of list, I've created an Amazon shopping list here. It's literally got 3 items on it, right? It's got a selfie stick on there, it's got a light, and it's got a microphone. You can scan that QR code, anyone watching, and you can go and you can purchase the products if you really want, or have a little browse on some of the other lists that I've created on there. But yeah, like I said, don't get caught up on the tech. Camera, microphone, lighting. I didn't talk about lighting actually. I think with lighting, if you're indoors, try to use natural light if you haven't got a light. So right now, I am using a light here, but I've actually got a window that's in front of me. So if you've got any natural light in your room or where you're recording, make sure that the natural light is in front of you and not behind you. A big mistake I see people making is they think, oh, they might have a view out of a window and it might be a nice view, and they think, oh, this will be a good background, and they stand in front of the window and they record their video. And it's the worst thing you could do, especially if you don't have a light in the opposite direction. Because what happens is this is I guess the trouble with phones. It's not trouble, but this is just the way they're designed. The way these phone cameras are designed is that they expose for the brightest parts of your image. So often the window is the brightest part of the image, and it's gonna make everything outside of the window look normal, and it will make you look super dark, so you won't have the best flattering view. So just turn yourself around, make sure the light's facing you. So natural light's a good way to go. People say, oh well, we're in the UK, a natural light. Actually, the overcast grey light is the best light as opposed to super bright sunny days, right? So we were doing an event with Mark Whitby in Florida, one of his live summits, and we had this amazing penthouse room which had like wraparound windows. It was the worst environment to record video in for me. It was great for the people that were at the event because they had this amazing view of the ocean, but there was like blazing sunshine coming in, and like my footage is all over the place because I just couldn't expose properly for it because it was just too bright. So actually the light we have here in the UK, especially at this time of year, is perfect for that. So yeah, use that natural light.
Looking forward to seeing lots of you posting dog walks or walks out in the countryside this weekend using this beautiful natural light that Sanjay's talking about.
Yeah, I want to. If we've got time, this is going to take 15 seconds. Everyone, I don't know how many people are watching right now, but I said earlier, this is a skill. This is something that you have to practice. I want you to do it right now. I want you to grab your phone. Right, we're to grab your phone. Me and Andy are going to do it. Right, we can mute ourselves if we want to. We're going to grab your phone. You're going to turn the selfie. And I said don't use the selfie cam, but just for this practice, use the selfie cam and just record a 10-second. I call it It's not really a rant, right? It's called the 15-second rant, right? It's a confidence challenge. Just record 10 seconds of one thing that you've gained from this video. Right, I'm going to mute myself. Go, everyone. That's all it takes, right? That's a rep, right? So by reps, I mean repetition, right? Andy, you work out, you go to the gym, right? Reps compound. It's not about that one rep. It's about doing multiple reps. So this is something that you could do every single day. You don't have to post this, by the way, right? This could just be something that you do at the end of your day. It could be at the beginning of your day, keeping a video diary. These sorts of little things are going to just help you build that confidence, help you build that skill. Even, also people often record themselves and they think, oh, the lighting was poor or this wasn't right. Well, if you're doing a little bit every day and you watch it back, you can see, oh yeah, okay, the light. Let me next time I'm going to stand with the window in front of me, like he said on the webinar, and see what that looks like. Next time I'm going to grab my AirPods and see if I can improve the audio, right? So these little small practices are going to help you to become better and better. So when you actually do sit down to record your videos for your business, for your personal brand, you can apply some of these principles. But if you're not doing it on a regular basis, then you're not going to know and notice these things, or it's going to be too late, right? You're going to record the content that you want to put out and you won't be 100% happy with it. So yeah, do some little challenges. This is kind of what I talked about earlier, right? Just kind of do it in one take, right? Try not to overcomplicate things. Talk about something that you know really well, right? So especially with the recruiters, there's so many facets to the job that you just know off the top of your head, right? That you're experts in. Record a piece of content about that and post that.
We've got like 6 minutes to go, and I know there'll be a few Q&As to come in, but I think it's really important that we cover this point. I've had a message on WhatsApp from one of our members of team that's got quite a big team, and there was a question I had about how leaders can encourage their staff to become more confident on camera. What advice would you give to them, Sanjay?
I would just say the same as what I've already said here, right? If it's practice, isn't it? It's like encouraging them to actually just to record and just do it, right? You don't need to have the perfect setup. So I think if you want people to become more confident at doing something, maybe, you know, in a company environment, you could buddy up with someone and you could, you know, record each other, and one person could be the videographer and one person could be the talent, and you could
accountability buddies or something.
Accountability buddy, yeah, do something like that. And you've got to post, you know, a certain. I think I've got this. Actually, this is a good slide for that. Actually, whoops, I've gone back. You know, little tips that you can do, right? So confidence is going to come standing up, right, when you're recording. When I worked in recruitment many years ago, I actually didn't mention that. Actually, I have worked in recruitment, by the way, for those that are watching, many years ago. We used to get sales training, and I remember one time the sales trainer said, "When you're making your calls, stand up." Right, because it helps you to project your voice. You get more blood flow flowing around into your brain and into your body, and standing up gives you that confidence. So actually standing up and recording is going to be really, really good for you, right? Script those first 2 lines. Remember we talked about the hook earlier on. Don't worry about the rest of it. The rest of the content's going to come naturally, but think about how you're going to hook people in, right? So incorporate that into your practice. Smiling. This is often one that, again, I've seen this happen. I've seen the most bubbly personalities. They sit down in a chair, camera facing them, red light turns on, and all emotion goes out of their face because they're not getting feedback. So before you hit record, you know, start smiling before you hit and record, and that will translate into your recording as well. And actually, this is what I used to do when I first started recording content. I used to put a picture of someone right below my camera lens, right? And I would just have that picture there, because if it looks like you're talking to someone, and that's why people like using the selfie cam, because it looks like you're talking to yourself. But, you know, use a picture of someone, use an image, something like that. These types of little tips will help. But I think having an accountability buddy, someone that you're doing these things with, and then just challenging yourself, hey, you know what? I'm going to start, if you're not posting any video content right now, just post 1 video a week, like 1 video. Keep it short, keep it sweet, make it something that you can talk about with authority, and just post it and see what happens. And then just keep that cadence going until you feel like you can increase it.
You should do, like I talked about Ryan McCabe, you know, who the former CEO of Odro, that he had a 21-day plan, and he said at the start of a month or 21 days, that's how long it's going to take you to build the habit. Like, write down all your current LinkedIn stats, like your engagement numbers, your connections, all that kind of stuff, and then post your videos over 21 days, and then go back and look at all of the way that the metrics have pushed the needle up. And every time you do your video, print it out like hard copy, stick it on your wall, tick them off. Like, you get that sense of real accomplishment when you tick those things off. And it is something that does take time, right? But doing things like that, it makes the journey easier.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's just, there's science behind that, right? That checklist mentality. When you're checking things off, I have a to-do list right here for my day, and I'm checking things off as I'm getting things done.
Too.
Yeah, good old paper. It's just a paper and pen. I've got fancy technology in front of me, but just something about grabbing that pen as I'm going through my day and just checking things off gives you that sense of accomplishment. And that's a great way to do that with your videos as well. Yeah, and I like the idea of looking at your stats kind of before and after. And that's something that I do with clients that I work with. We kind of say, right, let's look at your stats. Where are they now? And then you post the video. Let's look at the stats 1 day, 1 week, 1 month after you posted the video, and let's see what that looks like. And often, people are surprised with the results.
Well, we got 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. Are there any questions that anyone wants to run past Sanjay before we wrap? Jisha, I'll let you keep an eye on those.
Do you recommend using slides like you're doing now? Yeah, you could do if you're trying to do some kind of educational tips and pieces of content. I think personally, slides are a distraction, right? And building a personal brand is about building yourself as an authority, right? And I think the more you could be front and center, I think the better. But if a slide is going to help accentuate your point or exaggerate a point that you have to make, then fine, do it. But it shouldn't be death by PowerPoint, right? It just should be maybe a couple of slides. Visual images are often quite helpful because some people are visual learners. They like to visualize, but really camera confidence and making video content, and especially with vertical content, right? If we're talking about short form content, especially on LinkedIn and Instagram, places like that, you're not going to have room vertically to display your slides. It's going to be super small. People aren't going to be able to read it. So I would say just think about what you're trying to post, and keep it simple. No worries.
So Sanjay, what's next? Your final slide.
So look, if anyone wants to book a call in with me, a free kind of 15, 20-minute strategy call, like I said at the top, we do a service for recruiters where if you're saying, look, this is great, Sanjay, but I just haven't got time, right? And you want someone to take the heavy lifting away, then you can reach out to us and we'll happily kind of talk you through the options that we do. So we do the creation, the content strategy creation. We will do the recording virtually on a virtual platform similar to StreamYard here, and then we'll do all the heavy lifting with regards to editing, captions, turning it into short form content, and just deliver you the assets. So if that's something that you think might be useful for you, or you just want to explore that, scan the QR code here. That will take you straight to my Calendly page, and you can book in a session with me, or just connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a DM. I'm more than happy to chat. I try and share as much, just as I try to practice what I preach, right? I try to share a lot of educational content for free on LinkedIn. So have a look out for some of my videos
And Instagram.
Let's keep the conversation, and Instagram, yes, of course, as well, Instagram. So let's just keep the conversation going. But I want to see people posting and just getting it out there.
Yeah, we've run over, but simply because I think we've had a lot of fun chatting through. I think you got two guys here that are really passionate about this, that we've seen like amazing things happen with video. There's actually 7 topics that we had listed out to talk about today that we haven't covered. So maybe we should do this again, Sanjay, and cover off those last topics. But I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this Team Talk Live. Really enjoyed it. I think everyone's got loads of takeaways, and looking forward to seeing you all at a team event sometime soon.
Yeah, love it. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks,
it's been real good fun. Thanks a lot.